How's it going, guys? My name is Franker and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing our monthly analysis for the month of December. It's almost a new year, and currently here we are in the December bar. We're about, what are we, less than 12 hours into the new candle, and you can see what we're going to do basically is go back and have a look at November and have a look and try and prepare as to what's for December and months to come in the future. So of course, now before we do jump into this video, make sure you guys are subscribed, like the video, comment any questions down below that you might have. Let's try and push this subscriber count up to 400. That would be much appreciated. And if you are new to the monthly analysis videos, feel free to go back and find them. So we've got another one here, monthly analysis. So that's our one for November, and we have another one here for October. So you can go back through the channel and kind of gain an idea about what we're looking at in the markets here and what our thesis is currently. But for now, let's jump into our 4-year cycle. So we've been following this for a long time now. Basically, 1 year down, 2 years of accumulation up to the prior all-time high, and then a parabolic year basically. And you can kind of see that playing out. A year down, 2 years across, and then 1 year where things go crazy. Same thing time and time again. Now, of course, this is not guaranteed to play out the exact same. However, things look like they're playing out the exact same so far. Now, with our 4-year cycle, we're basically just using this to see where we are roughly in the cycle, whether we've got plenty of uptime to go, whether, the market should be turning. I'm in pen mode. Hang on. So it looks as though the 4-year cycle is still intact. There's no reason to change our thesis on that. And essentially, until something major happens, unless we take out these, if we take out these monthly swing lows, something like that, if these start getting taken out somehow, say price just falls over like that, then we need to have, serious alarm bells going off, and be questioning what we're doing. But right now, it seems as though price will just likely continue up. Price will go up and down, and eventually hit, the prior all-time high sometime around November or December of 2024. That's currently where we sit on the 4-year cycle. Now let's jump into the Bitcoin daily chart. Now Bitcoin on the daily chart is pretty well all the same. So what we essentially are looking at is, lull periods in the market, big moves in the market that are then followed by lull periods, and then obviously big moves, lull periods, big moves, lulls, big moves, lull periods, and etc. etc. Now, of course, with these periods of nothingness, the boring churn periods that are in the red, they can often see price where they can see price go up, price go down, price basically just goes sideways. And in this case here, we're seeing price basically just kind of churn upwards. Now, that's not to say that price is going to continue to go up. It really could go anywhere. But it seems if we just go back and have a look at our prior, slow periods in the market, 60 days, 48 days, 85 days, 52, 59, 52. Or sorry, that's the current one, the 52 one. It looks like we're nearing the end. So if if it was 48 bars, that takes us out to, December 11th. And if it's 85 bars, which is the longest, that takes us out to the new year, but I don't think that's very likely. I think it's more than likely somewhere in this 50 to 60 bar range, somewhere around here, and we'll likely see an explosive move. So last month, we were basically talking about Bitcoin probably not doing much in November, probably just seeing a bit of a churn period, which is kind of what we've seen. It's been good that price has been able to go up, of course, but there's a good chance that we see a big explosive move in December, whether that's to the upside or whether it's a big pullback to the downside. I don't think it really matters too much, because the important thing is with our Bitcoin chart, which we can see with our black lines, are the monthly swing lows. So as long as these monthly swing lows stay intact, that would have to be a massive move to the downside. We just get not a date range, a price range, and we pull this down, it would have to drop over 34% to get back down to the monthly swing lows, which would be a massive move. I don't think that's going to be the case, because remember, looking at our 4-year cycle, it looks as though it's well intact. Maybe there is a good chance we get a pullback if price does just kind of roll over. And we come back down and test mid-30s, maybe even, the $29,000 range. That's entirely possible. That wouldn't be surprising. which would, 29,000 is around here on the chart. That wouldn't be totally surprising. A 20% drawdown for Bitcoin isn't really anything crazy. So if we see something like that, great, doesn't really change our thesis at all on the long-term time frame. Remember, we're talking about monthly, 4-year cycle time frame, long time frames. But on the daily, I think in December, it wouldn't be surprising to see a big explosive move of some sort. Now we are closing in on the halving, so we've got the halving here down as April, 15th roughly. So somewhere in April the halving will happen, and I think into that we'll see some funny price movement, whether Bitcoin pumps into the halving or dumps into the halving. We'll probably see something funny going on, and I think we'll likely see one big move in December and then something before the halving is my call. Whether it goes to the upside or the downside, I don't know. Can't really tell you guys that, unfortunately, but generally speaking, it shouldn't matter overly as long as we're dollar cost averaging at good general prices, and following this 4-year cycle, making sure it remains intact. There's really no reason to be doing anything crazy at this point in the market. We're just buying. We've been buying Bitcoin, we've been buying altcoins all during this accumulation phase. And if you haven't bought anything yet, then I can't, not financial advice, but if I hadn't bought anything yet and I was just getting into the market now, it would just be looking at, okay, how can I dollar cost average over the rest of this accumulation phase to put myself in the best position for the parabolic stage of the market. And, whether price in the short term on the daily chart does do something crazy, as long as these monthly swing lows remain intact, there's no real reason to do anything crazy, in my opinion. Now, with Bitcoin dominance, of course, Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance very closely linked. We're kind of looking at, we've been talking about this big uptrend that we've been seeing here. We made a tweet a while ago about Bitcoin dominance being super strong and likely pushing into the green trading range. And when we're talking about the green trading range, we're talking about this 58% to 52% range roughly. Now we have broken into it. We got upwards of 54%, but of course we have had another pullback. But on another tweet that I made, now of course if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, it is a good way to keep track of the monthly analysis videos during the month, because I'll upload a few different things on my thoughts in the middle of the month, sort of thing, roughly, to keep you guys up to date. Now, of course, I said Bitcoin dominance is looking to find some support on prior highs. It's likely to bounce away and outpace altcoins when Bitcoin pumps next. It's not an altcoin season yet. Now, of course, if we just have a look at the loading. All right, so we're just kind of looking at, it's the exact same chart. I don't need to pull it up on Twitter, but basically this range being a support here, you can see the orange line I've drawn is just support on old resistance. It's pretty stock standard trading. So if Bitcoin, as we were saying, we're expecting a Bitcoin move, some sort of exciting move to happen in the next month or so. So if that is to take place, then we would expect, I think, even if Bitcoin price pumps, that's great. I think Bitcoin dominance will increase as well. Even if Bitcoin dumps, I think that altcoins will lose value a lot faster and Bitcoin dominance will still increase. So I think either way, that's just my personal opinion, of course. I think we see Bitcoin dominance come up a little bit higher into the mid 50s, and then from there, we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, as long as we're holding our trend line for support, as long as we're holding, we haven't even drawn any 50% levels or anything yet. As long as we're holding these sort of support levels, there's no real reason to, change our thesis that Bitcoin dominance is going to continue up. And once something happens, if this trend line just comes down and breaks, then we'll start to think, okay, is our thesis wrong? If this trend line here breaks, there'll be good reason to start to reconsider our allocation of assets, because obviously right now we're saying Bitcoin is the best investment in crypto, but of course that could change if we if one of those things happen, if the trend line breaks, if the prior support levels break down, that's when we start to consider something else. But until then, no reason to change our thesis. Now, Ethereum has gone absolutely crazy since we last spoke about it. So last month in November, our monthly analysis would have come out on this green candle here before we really broke out. Now, we were talking about this 50% level being a key level of support last month, or a couple months ago, sorry, where basically if this 50% could hold, we're still in a bullish scenario. It kind of seemed to be the last line of support, but not only that, we held this trend line pretty well, and we also held the 50% level, and since then we've really pumped away. And not only have we pumped away, we've been looking at this, $19,000, $2,000 level being big resistance for Ethereum. And you can kind of see that we're actually getting some of our highest closes for Ethereum since breaking down. I mean, if you disregard this one candle up and down, you can see how time and time again, resistance, support, a little bit of support there. I mean, we're talking, a few weeks hanging around that area. Big resistance, big resistance, big resistance, and it seems like maybe, hopefully, for the bulls, obviously not for the bears, that this might be the breakout and a bit of consolidation above this support line before we can really break out of here. I mean, if we can get above 21, if we can get to like 2200, I think that is probably, the best case scenario right now, that we basically just bounce through and continue on our way. And I think that could be a likely case. Remember, we're talking about Bitcoin having a big move. So depending where Bitcoin kind of goes, I know it's a bit annoying that, the crypto market is so dominated by Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin does pump up in the next month or so, it looks like Ethereum is going to really rally strong and I think really begin its bull market. And it's the same thing again if you're not in ETH at the moment. I mean, if you've been following our monthly analysis, we've been looking at this being a general good bottoming pattern, but of course we have been saying Bitcoin dominance obviously are performing very well, but it looks like we're probably soon to be entering the Ethereum stage of the market, where essentially we've got at the start the Bitcoin phase where everyone's investing in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the best investment, hence we've been seeing Bitcoin dominance continue to rise. This is the whole Bitcoin phase, and then we'll likely see an Ethereum sort of narrative start to pick up in Ethereum, and then eventually it will phase into altcoins and basically the shenanigans that we get late in a bull market cycle. So at this stage, we're considering, when will Ethereum be the best investment? I think if we can really break out of this trading range and start to consolidate above, if we can really consolidate above this level, I think it'll be off to the races very, very soon for Ethereum. I mean, by very, very soon, we're talking, it could be, 2025, late 2024, somewhere around here, we could be off to the races. Still a long time away. I mean, in terms of, it's an entire year away potentially, but, relatively speaking, in terms of, trading the markets and everything, pretty close in my opinion. So, it's time to prepare now, getting our investments ready. Obviously, as we were saying, if we're heavily in Bitcoin at the moment, because we've been following this Bitcoin dominance, we're looking at Bitcoin being the best investment. If our thesis changes, if Bitcoin dominance starts to break down, if Ethereum starts to get extra bullish and break some of these highs that we're talking about, that's when we start thinking about, are we transitioning from a Bitcoin phase into an Ethereum phase? So that's what I think is coming up soon. Now, of course, hard to predict when exactly. I can't give that date right now, but we'll just follow this month by month. Next month in December, we could be looking at a big rejection, or we could be looking at a breakout. That's kind of what we're talking about. So only time will tell with these sort of things. But I think sooner rather than later, we're transitioning into an Ethereum phase of the bull of the cryptocurrency bull market. Right, so we'll talk about Crow now, and then we'll speed run through some altcoins just to give you guys a general idea. Now, Crow, as we've been saying time and time again, looking at this being a Wyckoff accumulation phase, just have a look at this chart and then have a look at this chart. We've got our selling climax, obviously, clearly drawn out by the large increase in volume. So the volume increase suggests a selling climax. Of course, we get an automatic rally on that. Secondary test, finally a spring. So where we were last month is looking, this is the October candle. So this is where we were, right on the October-November candle, waiting for a breakout basically. And we're looking at this being a test of the 6 cents range. And of course, we've been following this on Twitter. So if we go back to, where are we? Not November 11. Where are we? November 3rd, so this was just after last month's analysis, we said Crow exploded out of the resistance, which it absolutely did, and we said there was a good chance of a pullback to around the 6 cent range. I thought that was a possibility, but we actually were able to pump far higher than I thought. No, we got above the 6 cent, and we even got above the 8 cent prior swing top, so we kind of outperformed what I thought. And then of course we finally got that pullback. That's what we then followed up with. So definitely holding above 6 cents since the outbreak, or since the breakout, testing the key resistance of 10 cents. The chance of a large pullback is on the table. So you can see where we were. It looked like we were getting ready for a big pullback after hitting that 10 cent range, and it was pretty clear that that was to be the case. When you have a big explosive move, this is, I mean, if we're talking about date and time, or date and price, from the bottom to the top, we're talking about 150% in about 4 weeks, which is, you know, enormous gains to be had. So obviously people are going to sell, they're going to take some profit, and they're going to sell, take some profit, and then, you know, reallocate later. And of course, it's, you know, it's only fair that we have a bleed out, a bit of a bleed out period here. But what it really looks like to me is, if we go back to our Wyckoff, is our sign of strength and last point of supply. So basically, once we are able to break out above prior swing tops, which you can kind of see on the chart here, so we're above some of the swing tops, as you can see. Once we can consolidate a base above that, it'll look to shoot out into a phase E, and phase E is basically what I consider the off to the races period, where we make lots of money and have lots of fun. And if we do, we'll pull this back a little bit further, and we'll have a look at our actual phases of the market. So obviously, we'll just find a vertical line, sorry. So phase A is where we get our selling climax and automatic rally. So that would be roughly there. So phase A. Phase B is our secondary test. So our secondary test comes approximately here. Now the spring is our phase C, so our spring and our test, which is kind of hard to draw on this chart, on the weekly chart, I apologize. And then last but not least, phase D and phase E. So if you could imagine, we've got phase A, B, C, D, E, which is kind of which you can see on here. So we just had our spring, we tested some prior resistance, broke out into our last point, or into our, you know, signs of strength, last point of supply, which is phase D, and you can kind of see that pattern forming. It's a bit clearer on the daily chart. If we pull it up on the daily chart, you can kind of see that up-down motion as price kind of consolidates. And when price consolidates for a long period of time, you typically will see a big explosive move one way or the other. And if we're of the opinion that this is a Wyckoff accumulation phase and we're in phase D, then the explosive move that we're expecting will be to the upside, obviously, in phase E. Now if we, where am I going? Phase E. So in phase E, the stock leaves the trading range, demand is in full control, the markup is obvious to everyone. Setbacks such as shakeouts or more typical reactions are not usually short-lived. New higher level trading ranges comprise of both profit taking and acquisition of additional shares, reaccumulation by large operators. Can occur at any point in phase E. So basically what we're saying is that this move is going to be clear. It's going to be definitive. I mean, this is just if the Wyckoff analysis, I mean, it's been playing out perfectly so far. So fingers crossed it continues, that we're going to see a big explosive phase E, of course, and then we're going to move into higher trading ranges. That's basically what this is saying, that there will be new higher trading ranges. So basically, you know, price will consolidate somewhere else. It's going to be a reaccumulation zone. Price will then shoot off again. And this should hopefully be the start of the Crow bull market. That's just our opinion at the moment, that this is the accumulation phase. Oh, I'm still in pen. And we're in phase D of the Wyckoff accumulation phase, and it is likely to shoot away from here. Now let's go through a few altcoins and just show why we're not quite ready for an altcoin season as per se, but we're more moving towards an Ethereum. phase of the market, you can just kind of tell. Look, so for example, the Binance coin has been very weak. You could see this was just rough sketches that I was doing, that there was this trading wedge that we were in, and we've just broken down of it, and it looks like we're still struggling to find any higher prices. Obviously, the cycle low at the moment is very close to Binance. Now, that's not to say I still don't think it's likely that that Binance will collapse from this point. There's always a chance, especially with what's been going on with the SEC and with all the allegations. Of course, that's a whole other topic, not technical analysis right now. But Binance is just clearly in a weaker position compared to Bitcoin. I mean, we've got lower high, lower high, lower highs, and then a secondary top or a double top or whatever you want to call it. And really, we've got lower lows, lower low, lower low. So we're kind of, Binance is not really showing any strength. And when we compare that to Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously they're showing way more strength. Matic has kind of a similar story to Binance. Now, I think Matic is in a slightly better position. You can kind of see that, you could argue that this is some higher lows forming here, higher low, but of course we have been in a recent downtrend, but it's the same thing again. You don't need crazy technical analysis to look at this and say, okay, Matic is clearly in a weaker position to Bitcoin, it is in a weaker position to Ethereum, it's clearly not at cycle highs at the moment. That's not to say that it won't outperform Bitcoin at some point. It will, but we're just looking at when that will occur, and with Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise, these altcoins aren't looking like the best investment. You got to look at your opportunity costs. So basically, if I'm investing in Matic, am I better off just investing in Bitcoin? Because yes, Matic's going to increase in price with time, I believe, but of course, how much in terms of a percentage will it match Bitcoin? I think a lot of these altcoins aren't going to, just for a little bit longer, especially compared to Ethereum. As we said, we go from a Bitcoin to an Ethereum phase, and that's where Ethereum is going to really outpace a lot of other tokens. And then later in the cycle, likely in the last 6 to 12 months of the cycle, that's when the altcoins will really pick up and start going berserk. And we're just not at that point yet, and it's pretty clear just based on these few charts. The two that I think are looking a lot better than the rest, XRP obviously clearly in an uptrend, but of course, I mean, the moves aren't as significant as Bitcoin, I still don't believe. So of course, from the low to the current price, about 100% roughly, but Bitcoin has done almost 150% from its cycle low. So XRP looks strong right now, and it could definitely outpace Bitcoin sometime in the future, but I don't think, as we said, a lot of altcoins are not going to do that, and XRP, whether it can keep up with Bitcoin, that's going to be the real question. So are you willing to risk money in XRP, or would you rather play it safe with Bitcoin? That's what we're talking about. And last but not least, Solana. This is probably the other one that looks good. So Solana, XRP probably looks like the better altcoins at the moment, in my opinion. I mean, just higher lows, and we've kind of broken the resistant range, and we're kind of consolidating above. I think this could be a bit of a phase D for Solana as well, similar to Crow. So only time will tell with these altcoins, but as we said, we're still kind of in a Bitcoin phase for the market. So whether you want to risk going into altcoins or not, that's up to you. But until something definitive happens, we're still of the opinion that Bitcoin is the best investment as of right now. And of course, it looks like a lot of altcoins are in their bottoming patterns, but of course that's not really where crazy gains are made during the bottoming pattern. It's often a lot of ups and downs and lefts and rights, and hopefully not movement to the left of the chart. That would be a bit weird, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's a lot of small moves, and once we can really pick up on those big altcoin gains later in the cycle, that's when we'll likely switch onto those. But of course, guys, that's going to do it for the video. So we've covered Bitcoin, 4-year cycle, all intact. Bitcoin dominance looks strong. Ethereum looking to break out, perhaps a transition into the Ethereum phase of the bull market. Crow bottoming pattern looking great, and a lot of our altcoins looking weaker. Of course, there's a couple that look better than others. Sol, XRP, you get the gist. If you did enjoy this video, remember to like and subscribe. Push that up to 400 subs, and I'll see you in the next one.